All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode one of Tap In, a new video series here brought to you by Tiled, and going over how to move your content from static to interactive, going over the what's, the whys, the hows. And so excited to dig in with this first episode and get y'all's feedback. See what you'd like to hear more of and if it's helpful. So, my name's Sean Richards, solutions consultant here at Tiled. Been here 7 years, worn a lot of different hats, from accounts to sales to solutions consultant. So, worked with customers of all different sizes to help them bring the usual PowerPoints and PDFs to life and really make an impact for them. So that's enough about me. I'll pass the mic to my counterpart, Jess. Jess, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. Good. Good.
Good.
Good.
I'm Jess, Jess Rhodes, brand new to the team in essence, product marketing manager. My background's kind of varied, not the traditional path, right? I started in architecture, moved over to graphic design, into brand strategy, and into business development. So somehow I'm going to be a little bit more familiar about where you are sitting as long as you land in one of those buckets, right? And now I'm doing product marketing here at Tiled. So my goal here is to kind of bridge the gap between design and the business world, right? Focus on what makes adoption stick and what makes workflows scale. And so from a strategic lens, I think, how can we approach this and why does this matter for enterprise creative teams in essence?
I mean, with you starting in architecture, it's kind of like we can get fancy. We can call you an architect, right? We could say content architect, design architects. Like
Well, that's why I gave you architect,
you
solutions
want to be
architect.
solutions architect. I mean, we can all be architects here. Um,
What I like most about architecture is like I approach things in a brand system kind of way, and you might try to catch up on that. But I like to take things apart, see how they work, and put them back together better.
let's go. That fits. That's
Yeah,
like that's a good parallel here. Um, awesome. Well, so the title of this episode, Builder 2.0, or just 2.0, 2.0. Maybe there should have been a question mark. Um, why? So obviously it's our new redesign of our platform. We're super excited about it. We're going to go over how you're going to take your content to the next level using Builder 2.0. Um, on the parallels front, I won't get too philosophical, but I do feel like it's also, hey, as you're coming to us, the audience, the viewers here, whether you've been using Tiled for a long time, whether you've had an agency create something for you on Tiled and you're wanting to get into the nitty gritty of it and start building content yourself, or you're brand new to Tiled and you don't know anything about us, or you're just starting to look into us. I feel like it's a 2.0 moment for y'all as you're looking at PowerPoint and PDF and the content you've been looking at over the years. That's how do we do this differently, right? How do we do V2? How do we take this to the next level? And so getting into the foundations and the basics from our side, but also hopefully getting the wheels turning around what y'all can do to further your content. We're excited to do it.
yeah. Piggyback off that, as Sean mentioned, the direction of this episode is really focused on our current customers. What is the difference between one and two? But again, if you're brand new, you're going to take away a lot of good feedback, a lot of good information as well. And so, I think let's see what can we expect today, right? A tour of the new features for sure, insider tips and shortcuts that Sean has mastered in essence, his own kind of workflow and what makes things go faster for him. Some migration strategy if you are in Builder 1.0. How do we get to 2.0? When to move, when to wait, the strategy behind, what you're touching all the time versus what's kind of needs more time to migrate. And then if you've got Builder 1.0 open in another tab, that's perfect. You'll see what changed. You don't have to toggle back and forth. We're going to try and do that for you. And so let's get started. Yeah?
Let's do it. Awesome.
What's new?
What's new in Builder 2? All right, we can see okay? We got the
Yep.
right view? All right, cool. All right, so Builder 2.0, that's what everyone is seeing here. And just to give you kind of an orientation, lay of the land for what you're looking at. We've got our timeline of pages over on the left-hand side, which looks like any presentation tool you've ever used, hopefully. And then you have your canvas here in the middle. Now, your canvas is where all the assembly is going to happen. And so, regardless of where you're coming from, if you're designing in Figma, XD, InDesign, Illustrator, PowerPoint, Canva, Tiled's going to allow you to bring in those designs. So you bring them in as JPEGs, bring them in as PNGs, bring your MP4s, your GIFs, like all of your media gets brought in. Tiled really becomes the assembly or the transformation tool for you to further it. We also do see some customers treat Tiled, especially with Builder 2.0, more like that PowerPoint or Canva, where you can start to assemble and design within the platform. But regardless, your canvas is where you're going to start assembling and activating those elements on the page. And then above the page canvas, you have your different tiles, and these are your features, your widgets, your elements that you're going to layer on top of your designs. Now, as we look at the top nav and where those show up here in Builder 2.0, as we toggle back to Builder 1.0, again, your pages were on the left, your canvas remains in the same place. Tiles were previously in the upper right, and you drag them on from there, but all of the same functionality is built in. So core design elements, that's going to be just in a different location, but all available for you here in Builder 2.0.
Yeah, I think you just said the perfect word, activate, right? These tiles will activate your design. We can go over what those are. There's hotspots, there's text tiles, there's image tiles, there's gallery? Carousel.
Yep.
Ooh, that's a change. Gallery in 1.0, carousel now in 2.0. You can also embed things like forms, widgets, Tableau. I mean, the list kind of goes on. I don't want to go as far as say you can embed anything, but I would say you can embed most things. We have Lottie files as well, which is a nice way to add some kind of hover interaction. And then obviously video. Didn't mean to skip that one. But I think the real benefit to having your tiles up at the top of the page is now that you have a full-blown anchored panel to the right there. So the properties panel is dynamic and responsive regardless of what you're clicking on. So if you're going to click on an image tile, you're going to get served up some information on that. When you're clicking on a text tile, you'll get served up information on what font you want to select, what weight, what alignment, all of that. Alongside the properties panel there at the bottom, where we have that selected, is also the layers, assets, and overlays panel. It's a little bit different there, especially on the overlays. They've moved from the pages side over to the panel side. A couple things I want to mention there is, and it's more of a shift in how you think about moving from static to interactive. So I want to make sure we hit on that, since that was kind of in our intro, is this kind of analogy about a deck of cards, right? If you think of your design and assets as a deck of cards now, and you bring them into tiled, now they're interactive, you kind of have the ability, not just in the layers panel, but also as the user on the other side can now shuffle and reorder and see a full deck at a glance. That's a real benefit here of the layers panel, that we can now reorganize things. We don't have to go front to back. I'll let Sean hit on that and the shortcuts in a little bit later, but there's a lot more freedom. You can hide layers now, you can lock them. And so a lot more creative freedom, especially if you were adding, let's say, this menu for the background of this menu, and you wanted to lock that in, you could do that with still be able to move things around in the elements.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I've found most helpful about using the layers panel, is just rearranging as well as locking or hiding. For a quick reference back to Builder 1.0, all of your elements you could still select here, but if we wanted to go back to that video layer, I've got an image sitting over the top of it, so I've got to move that to even get to the video layer, and then I got to rearrange it, or I have to right click and send this to back and then bring this to the front, and it was just not in line with where we know content creators and designers are, or what they're doing, I should say, in their other tools, and aligning with that. So heading back to Builder 2.0, yeah, a layers panel for you to hide, reorder, and move your layers is small but mighty, honestly, when it comes to the content creation.
Yeah, especially when you're sitting on an enterprise team, right? You're working on multiple pages, you're working on complex, multi-component projects. Being able to do that from a centralized location instead of the kind of front to back two step is going to help you be more organized, just organized at scale even. One thing I did want to touch on, and you were doing it there kind of intuitively, is the ability to adjust the kind of drawer there to whatever
Hmm.
size you want.
Yeah. So this, and again, for any of y'all who have been making micro apps in Builder 1.0, you'll see down in the bottom right, you can't even see any of the assets. So you'd have to command minus to free up some space to even go get the assets. If you were zoomed in all the way, you might not even see them. So obviously, from a user experience standpoint, not ideal. So as we go to Builder 2.0, we've definitely freed up some real estate, but you also have the ability to expand and collapse that menu depending on if you need access to the layers or the properties panel. You know, you've got freedom
Yeah,
there.
it kind of double clicking there on that zoom comment you made. There's now the ability to zoom within the builder without messing with your actual browser. So there, Sean's doing the zoom in, zoom out. You can also use keyboard shortcuts. Can you?
You can use
Okay,
keyboard.
good.
You're like, wait, hold on. You can do command plus to go in, command minus to go back. If you're, you'll also see as I hit space bar now, we've got the panning.
Yep.
So if we want to pan around, we've got that option. There's also this reset button here too. So if you're super zoomed in on something, looking to make sure, hey, is this aligned? And then you want to get back instead of having to get that right, just hit reset and it takes you back to the main view.
If you do Command 0, does that also reset?
Let's go. Zoom in, command 0. Sure does.
We love that.
Shortcuts. One thing you called out, Jess, actually, with the vernacular is if anyone created galleries, and as we look at what a gallery is, right, having something on the page where you can swipe and have different information show. It could literally be a gallery or images that you want to show, maybe of a given property, or like this, you can create different cards, if you will, for different services that then you can swipe through or have automatically set to move on their own. Same functionality in Builder 2.0, simply just been renamed Carousel. So from gallery to carousel, at least wanted to call that out.
Yeah, and I think carousel is the better fitting term. Gallery in the sense that it can be anything you want it to be, but carousel in the sense that we went one step further and actually built in some components that show that there's additional things to slide through. So like calling out those dots there at the bottom, that will change depending on how many things you have in that carousel and
Hmm.
be able to see that navigation without having to build that UI UX built into your own.
Yeah, and we won't spend too much time on every feature. Hopefully, we'll end up having episodes specifically on all the cool stuff that you can do with each one. That's what we're looking for. But at least calling out some of the differences with Builder 2.0 and how you actually navigate it. But as we go to you click more elements now, which is different from Builder 1.0. But ultimately, the first one that shows up is our scroll. And the scroll, again, similar to a carousel now, gives you the ability to do something that you probably didn't ever do in any PowerPoints or PDFs, but giving you the option to really break up your content in a way that's more consumable. I mean, we've all seen those PowerPoint slides that just have way too much text packed in. There's a lot going on. So adding a scroll, it can be the whole page, it can be a certain section like this that you're seeing, but ultimately having just more real estate for you to work with. And so for this example, I'll pop back to 1.0 to show you the OG scroll tile, if you will. So as you select that scroll, from a design standpoint, you're going to design this like an infographic, right? This is going to be a very long frame or a very long design. And then as you just simply drag that asset in from the assets panel to snap into the scroll tile and size it accordingly. In Builder 1.0, there was the edit scroll canvas option at the bottom of that modal that would zoom you into kind of this inception view, I guess, right? You're not, you can adjust it. You can add on additional tiles into the scroll. So that's what you're seeing here. Hey, there's a button built into the scroll. We want to stick a hotspot right over the top so that it snaps to that exact section in the scroll once you get there. That type of functionality remains the same, but ultimately it was kind of tough to know in Builder 1.0, hey, is this lined up correctly? Is this scaled
Yeah.
correctly? And so going
And
back,
you lose total place of your hierarchy in content, right? And context is so important in design. I think what happens here now in 2.0 is that your audience is going to see this content in section. Now you can design it in that section as they would see.
Exactly. So as we select the scroll tile right above it, edit scroll tile, you jump into the editor. So a similar concept, but yeah, again, instead of having to eyeball it, I'm sure a lot of you got really good at that. Oh, yeah, I think this
Yeah.
is about right. But now you've got the ability to go into this edit scroll canvas mode. One thing to note is in order for you to move around, you will need to hold spacebar to pan. And so whether it's to the side, moving down, and then of course, zooming in and out from here, you've got all that flexibility, and then you can drag on any of the additional tiles and really round out the design and kind of the activation of this.
Yeah. And in true Sean fashion, you're showing again another aspect that is new and the ability to have things off canvas, right? Before you weren't able to see that, you were kind of locked into that screen view. And now having your scroll off canvas, you can see where it is. Still in context, it's going to slide up and be that length. And that works really well, I think, too, when you're doing this in the horizontal view.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that because from the outside, or I guess at face value, right, it looks like the tile's cut off, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just going to the bounds of the page. But once you hit edit scroll canvas, again, the size of this is automatically going to be set based off of the size of your image that you drag in. But you've got the ability to adjust all of the dimensions and kind of the proportions as far as the scroll goes, just to make sure you've got all the real estate you need.
Yeah, that's great. We can move on to the text editing, the rich text editing, if you will.
Yeah.
Love the fact that now we can incorporate that without the kind of weird formatting or the kind of learned behavior workarounds in 1.0.
Yeah.
We could stop. We don't even have to get into the weeds there, but let's, if you don't mind, demoing how that new tile functions. We can see a little bit of how the property panel works dynamically with that one in mind. You can see automatically once he's clicked that text tile, we automatically can update the text, the weight, the size, the alignment, underline, strike through, color, all of those things. And those are inherent to the text tile. There's some overlap with others, but I think that's a really critical and time saving thing as well.
Yeah, and candidly, I feel like in Builder 1.0, you were very limited with the options you had from text and formatting. So if you wanted our customer, for example, here to be a different weight, maybe bold, for example, or light, whatever it's going to be, you'd have to do two separate text tiles, which was just kind of bonkers, to be honest. So
Yeah.
having that ability with rich text formatting, editing, all of that is available. So whether you are adding that text directly in tiled, or maybe you're syncing it from Figma and generating a tile, or having that text come into tiled, either way, having the ability to support more of the design flexibility and the styling for text is big.
Yeah, and that's a strategic choice, right? Even if you're coming from PowerPoint, if you do want to keep your text live and tiled, just designing with that in mind is a real critical point. Making sure your assets have that negative space to take in the text. But certainly you could approach it either way. You could still bring in your PNGs with static text and have some flexibility there too. So before we jump in too far, because we could talk about textile for a while, probably now that it's had so much improvement. From a brand consistency standpoint, right? If I'm approaching this and I have a very specific font, and I know that we inherently have Google fonts built into our options there,
Yeah.
what are my options to make sure that we can stay brand consistent?
Yeah. So Google Fonts, like you said, there's 1,000 or so fonts that are available out of the box in tiled. But yeah, that's always been a question. Hey, we have very specific fonts, or a customer of ours uses very specific font faces or typefaces. If you don't see the font you're looking for here, you do have the ability to add your own custom fonts. Now, just to toggle back out of Builder 2.0, in your account or your tiled library, in the bottom left-hand corner, there is a wrench or a settings icon, and then you'll see at the bottom of this submenu, we've got font management. And so you can upload any TTFs or OTFs and all of the different styles that are available for you to be able to use then and have available in the tile builder.
Sick. So once you download them here, upload them rather, they show up in the builder automatically across all micro apps.
Yep, exactly.
Perfect.
And for all users as well. Once you add that in on the library or on the account level, if you have other content creators or any team members who are going to be in there, you've kind of checked the box for them as well.
Perfect. Yeah, I think that's the beginning steps of how we can apply brand on a more global level, and similar to how Figma might approach that. And looking forward to how we can grow and make that work better as we move forward. I think to circle back on kind of strategically how you might use text and how you might approach your design differently, or at least consider the text tile with a different kind of perspective. Let's talk about how if you were to bring in something, let's say from PowerPoint, you did decide strategically, I want to leave a lot of my text out, leave negative space on the canvas, and bring rich text into tiled. But I actually need a button now, a CTA, to move forward to make sure that this interactivity feels authentic and legit. What might I do then?
Yeah, well, to your point, and as you're getting used to the workflow of tiled, in your assets panel, you can upload whatever you want. So if you want to design the button elsewhere and bring it in, you of course have full flexibility to do that. But let's say, to your point, you're moving with a quickness. You want to be able to do it within tiled. The ability to, and I'm going to use this watch video button just as a replica or a model here. So I'm gonna go ahead and use our text tile. We'll go ahead and set that up to the black color. We're going to center it here. And then you've got the ability to add a background. So like you would with a shape or a text box from PowerPoint, we've got the ability to select a white background. And then let's say I want to turn that bold, maybe scale it down a little bit. Now you've got the ability to, and you'll see we're getting close there, you've got the ability to do some more. You can round the corners of the text box or the text tile itself.
I love that feature, by the way.
So
rounded corners on buttons get 35% more clicks.
35?
Psychological change, a little toggle lower.
It's round. I'm going to have to round everything now. That's wild. It's such a quality of life improvement. Instead of you having to go back to your design tool and round the corners, just do it here, for example. And then if you wanted to add a drop shadow or an effect, for example, you've got the ability to do that too. So now, hopefully, again, just a small example, but you'll see this is how you could start really building that interactivity. Hey, I want this to be clickable, right? So let's design it and make it look like a button and really invite people or draw people in to click it.
Yeah, and now that you've taken the time to kind of replicate that button, let's go ahead and add some of our enhanced hover features as well.
Yeah. So down in the bottom of the properties panel on that right-hand side under events, you've got the ability to set, and this works for the text tile as well as the image tile. Also, just a quality of life improvement from Builder 1.0. If you wanted this to have a hover effect, and again, just text in itself, you'd have to bring them into tiled as images. Whereas now with the new text tile, you got the ability to set the hover right here. So if we wanted to just simply have this change and have the font color go white, background color go black, we've got the ability to do that now just out of the box with our text tile. In addition, you can also set effects. So maybe you want it to float, for example, and you get a little preview there. But just add a little movement, a little bit of added animation to any of these elements.
Yeah, I think that's really helpful from the user side, right? You want to make sure that what you're actually hovering over is what you're intending to click on, right? And going from being able to add your hover effects or your hover states right here in 2.0 as opposed to having to upload two PNGs is another incremental time save. And I think once you add all of these kind of incremental changes, these quality of life changes, these property panel that's changing dynamically, you're saving, not just seconds and minutes, but, compoundly, hours in the design process within the builder.
Yeah, absolutely. And even as you're talking about activating it too, when it comes to the the button, if you will, in order to actually make that clickable in tiled, you'll use our hotspot
Yeah.
and just drag this right over the top and say, hey, we're going to link this to, and overlays are our pop-ups, right? So you don't, not taking you to a whole separate page, but we want to have something pop up in kind of like a light box, if you will. Now, you can do that generally just by putting a hotspot over the top. The issue, however, is if I have a hover effect set up and I've got a hotspot over the top, it's blocking my cursor from even making it because that is kind of layered right over. So
Right.
what
Back
we
to those cards, right? One card over the other doesn't means you can't access the one behind.
Exactly. So what we've done is, in order to allow for that, on the properties panel, right under the hover effect, there is a click event. And so think of your click event as your built-in hotspot. And so for any of the tiles, and mainly text and images, you've got the ability to click and enable that event, so that now, as we click that, the hover takes place, the click takes place, everything's set up how we want it.
I love it.
I love it
I
too.
can't, I mean, love it. It's exactly what you want it to do, right? You don't want
Yep,
to necessarily have to draw another hotspot when I already have an image that should be, able to apply that same logic.
for
And now
sure.
you can.
Now you can. And that's an example, a simple example with a button and using our text tile, but using those hover effects as well with our image tile. I'm going to pull up another example here. Another example where, let's say you're coming from Figma and you're designing, or another tool, and you're designing all of the elements on this page, for example, where each of these are their own images, right? So you've designed all the text, all the buttons, everything in here, but ultimately you want it to have a hover effect. And instead of just operating off of one image, you want it to swap to another image. So you want it to kind of have a reveal or a flip effect to overturn the card or show something else. You've got the ability to do that, and add an effect to it as well. And so we've got slide and bounce that is, swapping these images out. You can pick the direction. You'll see a little preview. But as we go into our main preview mode, now it creates this awesome effect where, again, as whoever's presenting is talking to something, they can swipe up, reveal a little bit more information. This can also be clickable, as we were talking about with the click event. So the hover effects, I mean, it just allow for a ton more flexibility, and just creative freedom with activating these pages and bringing them to life.
Yeah, and that seems like a very sophisticated animation on the user end, but I mean, showing the art of the possible here, and then also just breaking it down to say this is just two images, and now we've added that the effect in between. So super helpful, super easy to do, with a really huge impact on the user side.
Yeah, and you're right. Under the hood, it's pretty simple. You got two images. We're just going to swap them, but adding that effect just brings it to life so that it feels like maybe something that was made in After Effects or
Yeah.
using another tool.
Yeah, and I can think of several use cases, right? It doesn't have to be this way vertically. It could be a horizontal that kind of expands and grows. So, yeah, lots of ways to do that. We'll be excited to see how you guys implement that more moving forward. Last thing here, shared assets, which I think is also another incremental quick, but also adding to that bank of time that you're saving. How do I change an asset from a team scale? Does it have to be on my desktop still? Does it have to be pulled in from my downloads? Please don't ask to see my downloads folder. If you have a Mac, you know what that means. But what's the best way? What's the best practice here?
Yeah, so obviously the assets panel, again, bring in whatever you want. If you're syncing a PowerPoint or a PDF in, if you're syncing from Figma, all your frames are going to become assets in tiled. If you have your desktop version that we're designing here, one thing that, again, just different and furthering content, to meet people where they are, is maybe you want this to also be something that is maybe not mobile first, but mobile friendly for sure. I mean, we've all been on our phones pinching and zooming into PDFs or PowerPoints. And so having the ability to, in tiled, and we'll probably do a whole nother episode on mobile design from that standpoint, but in tiled, we treat them as separate adaptive formats. So if you want to design for desktop or even formally for tablet, and then also have a mobile version, you've got the ability to do that. In Builder 2.0, you now have the ability to say, hey, here is my aerial shot of the trees. In Builder 1.0, if you had this uploaded as the background for desktop, you'd also have to go to mobile and upload it a second time. So kind of a duplication of work and really unnecessary. And so now you've got the ability to share assets across multiple formats so you can rinse and repeat and reuse them as needed. This is also an addition to Builder 1.0, believe it or not, didn't have background color gradient. Obviously, you could set an image there. But as we're looking at any of these options, let's say the video, you wanted to change it. As you go into, you can either upload it locally and it'll be added to the assets panel, or you can hit browse. And from here, any of the assets within your micro app become available for you to choose from. If you've used our global asset library, you also have the ability to pick and pull from those libraries and folders and subfolders and whatnot. So especially from an on-brand standpoint,
Yeah.
queuing up those asset libraries goes a long way.
Yeah, similar to uploading your custom fonts or also uploading your brand approved imagery and able to pull that in easily.
On the topic of the assembly and the building inside of 2.0, one thing that is also easier is the ability to make something dynamic. So let's say we wanted the ability to have the date set up here on this page. And actually, instead of just being static text, we want it to be personalizable. And so ultimately, this is going to allow you to create templates that other people can adjust without having to get under the hood in Builder 2.0. And we'll definitely have a whole nother episode on personalization as a whole. But this allows you to set these dynamic values. And so maybe it's just date. So maybe we want to have November. Is it required? Is it not? You've got that flexibility, but ultimately you're adding that right on the canvas, and then you can start formatting it as you need to. Whereas in Builder 1.0, you'd have to go into the micro app settings first and dig into personalization and set up all your fields there. So just making it easier for you to do that in line and in real time in the Builder.
Yeah, it's the ability to set up your content in a more templated fashion, the way that you would set it up, and then being able to have a tailored experience on the seller's side is super critical there, I think. It allows you to scale your team's input without messing up your primary template and the way that you set up and the properties that you set.
For sure. And again, we'll get more into this, but let's just say it was one thing you wanted someone to be able to adjust. So we want to make this, and let's say you're presenting to Amazon. Based off of what you've set in the builder, all they're going to be able to do is edit what you've given them access to. So if it's just a personalizable date field, that's all they're going to be able to change. Everything else is exactly how you've designed it. So it can be as little or as wide scale as you want on the personalization front. They could swap out video backgrounds, they could swap out images, or simply just update copy like you're seeing here.
Yeah, and because we've only set one instance at this point, you only get to change that one. Everything else remains exactly how you've set it.
You got it.
Awesome. One thing I want to call out at the top of the toolbar over to the right near the publish and the preview button is a question mark button. It's more than just support docs. We have an AI assistant that can help you kind of handle the platform knowledge as you focus on your story and your build. But the second thing there, in case you are new to Builder 2.0 or you just need a kind of refresher, is our interactive tutorial. And so what's great about that is you kind of level up like a video game in essence. So each step unlocks new tools so team members can get up to speed without that one-on-one training and get a kind of head start. Not to say that you can't still reach out and reach out through support tickets, but between that and the AI assistant, I think you're in a pretty good spot. Let's circle back to the last kind of efficiency tip that I think is really a Sean special, right?
Sean special. Let's go.
I love it. Let's go back to hotspots, but
Yeah.
tell me about, again, going from static to interactive. I think one of the most quintessential steps to go from static to interactive is to allow someone to navigate at their own pace or their own journey. And so adding a menu is one of the key components to doing that. And I think the Sean Special is the fastest way to approach that and scale that across all of your pages. So let's see it. Let's do it.
Yeah. So the menu, the clickability, the navigation side of thing, the hotspots, what's going to allow you to do that. I know I dragged this over and just set one hotspot before, which is great, right? Hey, we want to have this and we want it to be clickable and go to the homepage, for example, every time they click in the top left corner. You can also set up multi-hotspots. So when you've got a menu or a navigation where all of these sections or chapters or links are all nicely spaced, instead of going one at a time and doing that, which is going to be a big time suck if you're doing it across every page, you can drag your hotspot all the way across, and then you can, in the right-hand properties panel, add additional hotspots. So you'll see here as I'm adding them, they are going and breaking up nicely. And so then you can say, hey, the first hotspot's going to go to About. Second one's going to go to Services. So this is where you're going to create more of a block of hotspots that you can then copy and paste across every page in which it exists, so that it makes your life a lot easier. You can also break it up. This is set up, and I think it defaults to vertical orientation. But if you had it horizontally, you can also toggle that so that it'll break things up from side to side as well.
Yeah, so two things I might add to that. Really helpful to add your page and name the pages so that you can see that easily when you're over there on the right side of that panel, adding those, mapping those destinations for your multi hotspot. And then to add to the horizontal version of that, a great use case for that is team bios. We see a lot of opportunity to add just a huge amount of team members from the right to left, and that would be a similar kind of application of that multi-hotspot.
For sure. Yeah, and it touches on the flexibility of the scrolling options too, right? With a side scroll as opposed to a vertical one, and designing your image accordingly. But you're exactly right. You come in here, and for all of your hotspots, yeah, you could do them one by one, but you can also save yourself some time by adding multiple.
And incredibly satisfying. It's breaking it up into very equal parts. That's just a designer's dream.
It is. It's a OCD hit for sure.
For sure. All right. Well, it kind of feels like we just kind of scratched the surface, but I think that's great context and a great kind of overview of what is different between 1.0 and 2.0. I think the last question that I've been hearing a lot from our customers is, what do I do with everything that I've already built? I love the functionality of 2.0. All of my micro apps are in 1.0. Could I flip a switch and just have them all come over? What do I do next?
The way that we've set this up is to be individual, because we know as you're getting used to the new builder, might work better for some projects than others, depending on the complexity of it. So if you're starting a new project in the library, as you click create from scratch, you'll see that at the bottom there's the option to choose. So you can still use Builder 1.0 for now.
For now.
And then Builder 2.0, you've got the ability to do that. So for any net new projects, you've got the options. But let's say you have an existing micro app, and let me go to Builder 1.0. And you want to migrate this or bring it into Builder 2.0. So there's the CTA button at the bottom that says let's edit in 2.0. And we're going to give you really two options and kind of showing you what might make sense. One is duplicate. So this, like a Google Doc, create a carbon copy separate project for 2.0. We recommend this just as you're getting started, just seeing, hey, how does this translate? How does this work? Obviously, it will require new share links. There's going to be no analytics because it's completely fresh. So it's a separate project to allow you to test Builder 2.0 and really get comfortable in it. Of course, you can continue using Builder 1.0 for the original project. That's kind of the beauty there. Now, once you do that and have a good feel for Builder 2.0, the second option is going to be really long-term, what you're going to want to do, which is to convert it. And so again, best if you're already familiar with 2.0, you made sure everything looks good as far as the migration goes. All your share links will remain, all your analytics, it'll continue compiling on the same project. The only caveat is, of course, Builder 1.
The largest caveat.
Yeah, the largest caveat. A minor detail here, you can't go back. So Builder 1.0 for the project, you're basically flipping a switch that says, hey, we're gonna move to the new builder. We're not gonna go back to Builder 1.0.
Cool. Let's talk about just briefly whether you're duplicating or converting. What are some things that I should look out for specifically that may translate differently from 1 to 2? Like I'm going through my pages and everything kind of looks right, but where should I dig in and just double check that the functionality is as I expect it to be?
Yeah, there's a couple call outs, and as I've been working with customers just to get used to it, that we've seen. one, and going back to Builder 2.0, is just making sure some of the effects. So, we talked about hovers and having some of these effects like grow, for example. Builder 1.0, kind of overwhelming because you could pick an exact percentage of where you wanted it to be, where in most cases people just said, hey, I just want this to grow.
Yeah.
So there might be some that as they come to Builder 2.0, maybe the growing effect is just a little different than it was previously. Definitely something we're looking at bringing back maybe as like an advanced setting, but we did definitely streamline some of those things. So that's one instance. Another is in regards to scroll states. So again, we'll talk about scroll states in more detail as we get into the episode on the scroll tile itself.
Yeah.
But for any of you who have scrolls that you can jump and toggle between, so that you can click into different sections, that is something that today is not supported. So something to be careful of, or just watchful of, that we will be bringing it back in. Not to worry. The micro apps that you have, it's still going to be available, but ultimately in the editor, they're not going to show up there. So it might be a little a panic moment for you. Oh, where did my work go? They're still there, but the ability to actually edit, we're going to bring back in with an update here coming soon.
Perfect. From a timelines perspective, I'm just going to hit on this briefly. We'll be sure to make sure there's an announcement properly to make sure that you guys all have enough time. But when will Builder 1.0 no longer be supported? And the short answer is it's no longer being updated. So in essence, there's a gray area of support there. We can still help you out, but I think the strategy overall would be to go ahead and start duplicating or converting your high level projects first, right? And let the low touch content sit. And not sit permanently, but just get a feel for what that is. It feels more intimidating than it is in the migration, and I think you'll find it's a lot easier to do. And again, if you need more support, reach out to us, especially if you're having issues with those scroll states or those hover effects. We are always ready and help. Sean will probably help you out more than others, but
Yeah, I mean, it's been super helpful for customers to have kind of a migration conversation or workshop just around, let's go through it together, right? Let's see how this
yeah,
goes over. Where did things change? Kind of like we covered today, right? Where are things different? And what can you expect? So we're always happy to do that. Don't hesitate to reach out.
perfect. Now, we went through a lot. That was one really packed episode, and it's a lot longer than we planned. And still, there's a ton more we could cover. I think this was an elite level of information and can only get better from here. I think let's do a quick recap. So we did Builder 2.0, changes of how it works, how to work cleaner, faster, with more creative control. We talked about migration being a doable process, but you just need to have a plan around it. Whether that's something that you do internally or something that you do in partner with us, we're happy to help. And just talk about timing and planning around how to do that. And then, really, the bulk of this episode was about shortcuts that help save serious time. And serious time, maybe not on an individual level, but based on a compound effect, are going to make you build micro apps a lot faster. And I think the biggest takeaway, at least on my end, is that all of these changes from 1.0 to 2.0 came from user feedback. And so if you've been building in 1.0, you'll feel and see a lot of these enhancements today immediately. If you're new to 2.0 and you still have questions or feedback, please let us know. We look at all of it. We try to implement as much as we can. Our goal is to make sure that we're helping you build in a more effective way all the time. So we're trying to iterate and make changes. This isn't the final state. Like, we're going to continue to iterate and improve on this as much as we can. And your feedback is critical to that. Just to stay critical for the last time, we could have a little counter at the top.
I think we hit double digits. I think we get.
We do have more episodes coming. I'll let Sean talk about the next one.
Yeah, so 2 weeks. We're gonna try and be on a 2 week schedule to start. Maybe we'll make it sooner. Maybe we'll go weekly. But for now, we're gonna start every 2 weeks. Episode 2 is going to be on using Figma in conjunction with Tiled. So workflows, best practices using our plugin. We're gonna help you Figma it out. So excited for that in a couple weeks.
Yeah, and hopefully we can talk a little bit about handoffs too, depending on how your team builds. I imagine a lot of times the same person who's building in Figma isn't necessarily building the micro app. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. And ultimately, even after that, there's another handoff to the seller to do personalization. So we'll try and hit on kind of that workflow as best possible. As I mentioned before, we'd love to hear your feedback. We'd love to hear about what you're thinking. Reply to our tap in email, comment on our LinkedIn, send us questions through the micro app that has all of our episodes or through our support page. You will reach us, the same group. We're monitoring all of that regarding tap in. And as I mentioned, we read them all. Your feedback is going to cover what we shape next, not even just in the builder, but in these episodes. We might change our whole plan and cover Figma and then something brand new based on your feedback for the third episode. So,
Let's do it.
not to mention the chaos, but we are here to serve you. And if it makes more sense than what we have planned, we'll absolutely make that pivot for you.
Yeah, yeah, we're excited. Again, we've got all sorts of videos and resources, but ultimately want to get in a good cadence to help you um, get more out of tiled and have inspiration and get the wheels turning. So, yeah, we're excited. That's it. Thank you for taking the time to tap in to episode one. Your work is ready. So we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Hey, see ya.